Hey everyone, welcome back to All Things Private Practice. Today we are going to do a special podcast episode where we are also hosting this on Maureen's Group Practice Exchange podcast, which is cool because we are talking about some things that we are seeing in the group practice landscape, the struggle areas, the concerns that people are bringing up a lot, ways that you can overcome them. And I think it's a really cool idea to do it this way. And having Maureen Werrbach and Gabrielle Julian Villani, who I don't think I need to introduce because they've both been on here multiple times and you know them elsewhere. So yeah, this is a cool event that we are about to get ready to host at the end of January.
Thanks for setting this up, Patrick.
Set the stage.
I'm excited about it just because we have 3 whole days of like pretty cool content between all 3 of us that we're doing. And so I don't know, we figured we would just chat for those that want a little bit more context about the event before jumping in and purchasing. We figured we could talk a little bit about some of the topics that we'll be discussing during the event. So I don't know, let's see. I'm looking over at the at our sales page to see what we're talking about each day. But we got for you, Patrick, 2 of them that like I think we can start with, which is retaining and supporting your team. Yep. And like values-based recruiting and hiring, because I feel like those 2 are kind of flow really well together. And of course, we're seeing this in our own group practices, but also all 3 of us with people that we coach, just the struggle of getting the right people into your practice and retaining them.
How often do y'all hear there's nobody out there who wants to work, we can't hire anybody, and we have no applications coming in?
Yeah.
Yep. I hear it every day.
Every day. I hear it every day as well, not just in like social media spaces, but even when I'm in like retreat hosting mode and people who are attending our group practice owners, I hear it from them as well of like our advertising, like we're on LinkedIn, we're on Indeed, we're on Facebook, nobody's applying, and the people we're hiring, none of them want to work. And I admittedly will say like I call bullshit on that completely, and I just don't think that's true. I think it's oftentimes like your job advertisement or your job posting is really vague or generic, and it doesn't like list out pay. It doesn't really define company culture. It looks like you just copied it off another Indeed page or a ChatGPT page. So I see that as an issue a lot of the time. And I also see like there are plenty of people who want to work and there are plenty of people who want to join group practices. I just think that sometimes the messaging is not feeling congruent with the values of the practice.
Yeah. I also think that our screening process as a whole might not be very good either. So like even if you get to the point where you've really looked at your your job description and what you're posting out there, I think there's a lot missed in the interviewing process to really, because, a lot of times people will agree, if they're really looking for a job and need a job, will sometimes agree to things that if they weren't in a space where they had to like right now get a job, they might not agree to. And so I think there's some lost space in the interviewing process too of like, how do we make sure that the stuff that we have in our job application we're actually talking about because a lot of people will kind of skim through and just sort of assume that all practices are made the same, and then really miss out on the opportunity for discussing what was in that job description to make sure that there's real buy-in to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big piece. And I think that leads directly into retention as well. I think you were going to say something though, Gabrielle.
I was. Thanks, Patrick. I was going to say this also makes me think of what I'm speaking about, which is more like CEO mindset, because Patrick, I use your website all the time as an example to some of my clients, because that's what they do. They just put in ChatGPT, write me a job description, and it's very generic. And I'm like, if I go to Patrick's website and I look at who you're hiring, I know exactly. And the person who's coming to that and who is looking at that, they know who they are and they know that they're the right fit for that. So do that stuff from the beginning instead of just slapping shit together and not really thinking it through and trying to do it the easy way.
Yeah. Also, go ahead and use ChatGPT, but then do the work at creating a GPT that knows your voice, don't just go in there and ask for, I'm a group practice owner. I need a therapist, build me like
Right.
do the work initially to create a GPT that knows your voice at least. So, as an aside, to not hate on GPT because I use it, but
I
I
use
spent
GPT
hours.
all
Yes, I spent hours building a GPT that knows my voice, that knows my values, so that when it creates the content for me,
yeah.
um, it makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
and I think it's like such a wonderful resource, you know? I even use ChatGPT to respond to emails sometimes. I'll be like, respond to this with this type of tone and this type of impression. But yeah, I think it's about making it your unique, making it your voice, but more importantly, like really getting clear on what your voice is, really getting clear on what your values are as a practice, right? Like, what do we stand for? What do we believe in? What is our mission statement? Who are we trying to support? Why do we care about supporting this population? Like all of those things are super important because otherwise you're really just like casting this net for employees. And like Gabrielle said, anyone and everyone can apply. And like you said, Maureen, if you need a job, you're just like throwing your name out there. But unless you get really clear on who your practice supports, what the niche is, what the values of the practice are, what your leadership style is, you're going to just hire people just to hire. And you might blame it on them when they transition out a couple months later because it's just not a good fit.
yeah, I see also um, an over promising, under delivering on these on the job descriptions, being like, we're offering all of these amazing things, right? Um, and then clinicians coming into the practice feeling like, well, those things aren't really being delivered, whether it's workplace culture or flexibility, right? Those are a lot of these like key terms that are used now, is like work from home flexibility, the ability to control your schedule and all these things. And then when you are like in the practice, you realize the flexibility is that work, like just as that as an example, is so what does flexibility mean in your practice? For one practice, flexibility can mean you completely can control your schedule, work from home whenever you want. For another practice, flexibility might mean you get to work 2 days out of your week from home that you have to predetermined like choose, and those are the 2 days, right? Both mean flexible, but mean something different, and can, if it's not kind of explicitly listed, a clinician who's applying might wrongly assume what flexibility or whatever means. And so I see that a lot too, where practices are adding all this like this jargon and these offerings and these like things that are in their business that really aren't there once you're in there. And of course, that creates kind of resentment and turnover by clinicians.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about retaining, kind of values-based hiring. In that frame of mind, I'm talking about creating a leadership team, because of course, as we grow our businesses, there's going to be a point where having just a clinical director or one other clinician who's helping you lead isn't going to be enough, and there's this real need for you to be able to create a cohesive leadership team that can really help manage all aspects of your business, especially as you scale. So that's something I'm going to be talking about. Do you guys both have, well, I know Gabrielle, but did you have a leadership team when you had your practice? Or did you
I
sell before you got to that point?
I did. I was like just starting to
Mhm.
implement that actually when I sold. But I think that's really important because that was something that actually came up in the masterminds that I was doing for the group practice exchange. Is a lot of I actually was very surprised at how few of them had like real leadership and how much they were still doing in very big practices, like
Yeah.
25 plus clinicians. And you're the practice owner and you're still seeing clients and you're still doing supervision and you're still worrying about like the water delivery and if the snacks got delivered. And I'm like, why are you doing this shit?
Yeah. Oh, it's and similar to, I did the same thing. I think it almost feels like a natural progression if you're not intentional and very aware of your next steps. But if it's really easy to just get to a point in your practice where you're like, I just need a little bit of leadership support, and you just bring someone on and you kind of think of the tasks that you don't want to do anymore and hand off. And then as it grows a little more, you're like, I need a little bit more. And then you hire someone else. And then you realize you have all these like siloed random people who kind of do a little bit of different leadership stuff. And I can understand how we can get to that point where then things fall through the cracks and we're doing random things still, like needing to make sure that the water delivery is happening on time and things like this. And so one of the things that I talk about, which is something I didn't do and wish I would have, is create a set of roles and the core functions that those roles have from the beginning, because those roles all exist. Every group practice has this pretty much the same roles. Of course, when we diversify services, we can, differentiate ourselves a little bit, but we all have like the same core roles. And it might just be that us as group practice owners are still in all of the roles, and maybe we aren't even doing all of the roles, but they still exist, whether they're being neglected or not. And so I feel like one of the easy like first steps is, before starting to just throw a new like clinical director role out there and just handing off some random things, is to really get a sense of like, what are the core functions in your business, and what things go within those functions, like what are the main things that they do, because then it becomes easy to like hand off a whole role with a whole set of functions connected to it, versus like, I just need some help. Why don't you start supervising? I don't know if you've seen this, but in Facebook groups, I see it all the time, where people are like, what does your clinical director do? And then everyone says things that are so different. And I'm like, some things that people are listening, like, that's not what the role of a clinical director is. And for other people, like, it just is so different. Or practice manager, you see that, and everyone's practice manager does completely different things. And I think this is where kind of putting together a set of roles and what those core functions are within those roles helps you kind of keep people in the right lanes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also think, to your point, Maureen, and I've talked to you about this before, of like not just promoting someone to clinical director because they're a good clinician.
Yeah. Yep.
And how your accountability equation really like does a great job of mapping out roles and responsibilities, because it's so easy to say like, you're a great clinician or you're a great supervisor, but that does not, again, mean that you're going to be a great clinical director or a great office manager, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's probably one of the biggest areas of concern that I see happening in the leadership realm, is elevating a really great clinician into a leader of clinicians role, because they think, I just want more of you. Replicate yourself. And, if you teach these people to be like you, then they'll be like you. But in reality, a person who has knowledge on something doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be a good teacher of that knowledge. And so similarly, someone who's a great clinician may not be the greatest supervisor or teacher of clinical, theory and how to be a clinician and all that stuff. And so, yes, it's probably one of the most common errors that we make in our industry when it comes to leadership growth, is putting the wrong people in the wrong roles. And so, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that in the Adapt and Succeed as well. What else are we talking about? Oh, do we want to talk about, I don't even know, the last day we're doing a panel discussion. So obviously we each have some topics each of these days that we're going to be talking about, from leadership to selling our practice, burnout, hiring and retention. But then on this last day, us three are going to come together and sort of do this panel discussion on diversifying services. Do we want to talk about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I'm most excited for that day, because all of us have diversified services, added other income streams, started other businesses. And I think it's just, I don't know, I think it's exciting, especially for those of us who have ADHD and like to do a million different things. I mean, I think it's really easy to see on the outside, or even I know people who follow my social media and they're like, oh my God, you have 15 streams of income, which I do. However, they did not just all like appear overnight. And so I think group practice owners need to remember that you're also entrepreneurs, and there are lots of other things that you can do within like, clinical group practice ownership stuff that can add more income or just change how you're working to prevent burnout.
hmm And when I look at like us three right now, because we're on video, it's wild. We actually have, I think you started Gaps with saying this, that we all have like different things, but it is wild. Actually, we all touch almost every single diversified service I can think of, between, doing, having retreats, right, with Patrick, and you with your 8 million streams of income. I mean, you just have figured out how to take every piece of knowledge that you have and like turn it into something that can create consistent revenue. And then from me, more internally in my group practice, diversifying services with other provider types and other, well-being at work programs and things like this. I feel like we cover so much in the diversifying services realm. And then books, right? Patrick and I.
Mhm.
And it's, well, shit.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I mean,
did I just out you on
no,
that?
no, not at all. I'm just like waiting for like finalization, so it's like walking on eggshells on my end. But yeah, I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah. A whole nother diversified service for us, right? Is book sales. So yeah, so that's what we'll be doing on the last day, is sort of having this panel discussion on, what ways we can diversify services, how do we get there, and like how do we make the decisions about it. Of course, as you mentioned, all three of us being neurodivergent, that plays a role in like our decision making. And I know with me having ADHD, I'm just like wanting to throw 800 things against the wall, and it's like, what process do we go through to like ensure that we're really throwing the right things out there and not all the things. So I'm really excited.
Super excited too. And I think it's value packed for 3 days for us to sit there and really get hands on with everyone who's going to be attending, which I'm really excited about. I like doing that stuff where we can really do some breakout and some processing about stuff that comes up for those who are attending, and really break stuff down and give tangible action steps to step away with too. Because I know when I go to trainings and it doesn't feel engaging, I check out and I probably don't revisit it.
Yeah.
And that's just not my style whatsoever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I also like that it's not just, all three of us each create content and courses and things on our own. But there is something about collaborating, not only from like the opposite of scarcity, abundance mindset of like I always have loved, and that's something that I've had a hard time with our industry of coaches and consultants as a whole, is like everyone likes to stay very siloed. And I've always been like, oh my gosh, we have so much knowledge when we put our stuff together. But I also think it makes the actual like events better when there's multiple people. So I'm excited about it. So we'll both be putting in the footnotes or whatever it's called, the link to it. But if you're anything like me, and I've never looked at show notes once in my life for a podcast, just Google Adapt and Succeed, the Group Practice Exchange, or Adapt and Succeed, any one of our business names. I have looked when I wrote TGPE, Adapt Succeed, it shows up right at the top, the page for you to learn more about it. So if you don't want to go to the show notes, yeah, just write Adapt and Succeed and one of our business names, and it'll show up on Google.
Yeah, and the event is January 21st to the 23rd. It's going to be recorded. You're going to get lifetime access to the replays so that you can continue to circle back to it when you need support or accountability. And we definitely still have a few spots left. So make sure that if this resonates with you, then get registered, and we will definitely see you in January.
Yeah, and it's a great way to start off a new year.
It is a great way to start off a new year.
Well, I think a lot of us, most of us, all of us, being group practice owners, like the world has changed. We know this. We know that things are changing, and I haven't really seen too much anything like this actually at all, where like multiple people are coming together and giving you a space to talk about that, and giving you like expert advice and Q&As where you can really set yourself up for how things are going to be in the future.
I agree.
Well said. Well
Yeah.
said.
Well,
Well,
it was nice chatting with you guys about this.
yeah. Hudson has been howling for the last 15 minutes. That's why I've been like super quiet and staying on mute, because like he just stopped. So I'm going to wrap it up before he starts again.
I haven't heard him yet.
I've been on mute, but like, yeah, he's been nonstop for 15 minutes. So it's like, I'm sitting here, I want to jump in, but I'm like, I cannot mute myself.
And
So
then
to
cats, I
everyone,
see. Is that a dog back there?
oh yeah, that's Lucy scurrying
Oh my
around.
gosh. She looks like a little cat.
That's like a gremlin.
Yes.
Gremlin, poor
Yeah.
thing. She's got so many problems, and she's sleeping. She's happy today.
So when you take this 3-day event, you're probably going to hear Hudson howling, and you're probably going to see Lucy scurrying around looking like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, and you might see Maureen's cat slinking around somewhere. Who knows?
I don't know where they're at right now.
But anyway, we will have all that information in the show notes. Like Maureen said, if you Google Adapt and Succeed in any of our names, the event will pop right up. It will be in the show notes. It'll be in the social media posts that we make from this episode. And we will see you in January, and everyone have a happy new year. So doubt yourself, do it anyway, and we'll see you next week.